Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of From the Chair with your host, Nathan. We'll be back in approximately a minute to tell you what's on the show this evening. On the show this evening, we're going to give you two exciting breaking news announcements. And we're going to go with the world of wrestling and possibly even give it some more talk, baseball, football. So please, everybody, join us this evening. So without further ado, everybody, are you ready? Ladies and gentlemen, I said, are you ready? We go live in 30 seconds. Welcome everybody to From the Chair with Nathan.
How's it going, everybody? So we have, this is kind of awesome. We already have a couple of questions in the chat. So let's go with the first question, and you and I can both answer this one. From Dakota. As far as what to do, well, Tony probably already knows because he's watching wrestling as we speak on his TV. But for me, I know that they're going to be in a 6-man tag with the Usos, and I'm counting Solo Sikoa as part of the Usos because he is, against Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn, which I think has the ability to be one of the better main events on Raw in a long time.
But the biggest news out of that, what's going to happen in the Bloodline tonight, is Jey Uso talks himself into a world championship or a tag team world championship match at WrestleMania against KO and Sami Zayn.
That's awesome. Although that's kind of the world's worst kept secret because I think anybody saw that coming like months ago. But you gotta love that slow build. And then the second question I'm not gonna put up, but yes, Dakota, I jumped when Tony started talking. I have a jump reflex when it was gonna start.
So
So
go ahead and start your. Oh, let's start with the breaking news. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We finally have some breaking news for you. On, let me check my calendar so I get the correct date. So on April 5th, we finally nailed down the Special Olympics own DJ Shane for his one-on-one confessionals interview with me. However, it will not be live on StreamYard. We'll have to do the Zoom platform, but we will get it on the social medias just as soon as that interview is done airing. Second major announcement also has to do with DJ Shane. He's bringing back for one night only his brainchild, Boa Radio. That'll be live Friday night, May 19th. For some of us, we may not be able to attend because we'll be busy doing Yeti feed, but for the rest of us, your awesome host will be taking over co-executive producer that night and making sure everybody has a good time.
yes, I will, and I'm very excited to do so.
So, moving forward, we've been busy working with some independent wrestling organizations and hoping to get you guys some interviews here very, very soon.
Yes, and I don't know if we want to mention some of them or do we want to wait until we get.
These are big name independent wrestling organizations. Some of them have to do with, in fact, a Bloodline member. I would say probably the original founding father of the Bloodline.
Yes, or at least one of them.
At least one of them, yes. Another one is a OG from Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And really kind of crazy. But I think he'd be a really good interview. If we can
Also-
get him or anybody from his promotion.
Also an ECW original.
We also contacted Women's Wrestling Army. For those of you that don't know who that is, that's Maria Kanellis and Bobby Cruz of ROH. That's their promotion.
Yes, and they have some of the best women's wrestling in the world. I mean, we're talking people from Impact, people from MLW, people from the NWA.
So, many possibilities of interviews coming along. One of Nathan's co-hosts wanted us to do some women interviews, so we went to that Women's Wrestling Army just specifically for that reason.
Yes.
And then there's one promotion out of Canada who had brought us professional wrestlers such as Cody Deaner, Josh Alexander, some of the other big time greats. And then one of them I think that Nathan's really proud of is the promotion's name is Hog, but he can help me with the actual termination of which wrestling
It's House of Glory.
House of Glory. And that, for all of you old TNA faithful out there, or I'm sorry, WCW faithful out there, the Amazing Red is the owner of that company.
Yes, but you weren't wrong on the TNA because he was in the original TNA pay-per-views. And I'm talking back when you had to pay $9.99 a week to watch TNA, which, yes, I did. So we're going to do something a little bit different today because I want to start out with the World Baseball Classic and a possible major injury to a Houston Astros star, which is Jose. During the game between Team USA and Venezuela, Trey Turner did a slide. It was a illegal slide into second base and took out the ankle of Jose Altuve. They didn't say how bad the injury was, but they did say that he could miss some time at the beginning of the season. And I know everybody's saying the Astros are strong, but look at who they lost this year. They lost Trey Mancini, who I know wasn't the best, player for them, but he was a good. And people are going to say they gained Jose Abreu. But let's look at Jose Abreu's stats over the last few years. He struck out more than he's hit home runs, which is kind of what his talent's predicated on because he doesn't run very fast. He's not an athletic first baseman. So maybe ultimately he's just your DH. Being out all the time, then, is that really an upgrade in any position? They lost Gurriel. He went to Arizona, I believe. And I know people saying that the Mariners are way far behind the Astros in the standings, and the gap between them is few and far between. But I don't think it's as big as people think it is. In contrast to the Astros, if you look at what the Mariners have, they added Teoscar Hernandez, which, and I know Tony will agree with this, regardless of what that man hits, whether it's an out or a single, that man hits it hard. They've definitely upgraded at second base because Adam Frazier gave us nothing last year. And so getting Colton Wong for his defensive prowess and his newfound home run abilities is going to be awesome. And I think one of their under-the-wire moves was getting Tommy La Stella, who was a very versatile player for the Los Angeles Angels at Anaheim.
But since you're talking about injuries,
what do you think, Tony?
Since you're talking about injuries with the World Baseball Classic, let's go a little bit further in that Dominican Republic celebration game, where probably arguably the best closer in all of baseball during a victory celebration tears his ACL and is out for the entire year. And I believe the Mets just paid that man 5 years, $100 million.
Yes, the highest contract for a reliever in baseball history.
And now, so virtually, it's now a 4-year contract for $100 million, and probably just virtually opened the door for the Braves to walk away with the division yet again.
Yes,
And no, that's not me being impartial. That's a fact.
I agree. And let's think about that one too for another point. Edwin Diaz, I agree with Tony. You're one of the best closers in the majors. And I get that you were excited that your country won, and that's a great thing. But like he said, you just signed $100 million contract. Stay on the ground when you jump up in the air to celebrate. Look at what happened to Morales for the Angels when he jumped on home plate many years ago and broke his leg. Nothing good happens when you jump up and down on a hard surface in baseball, apparently.
So World Baseball Classic, is it a good thing or a bad thing? That's a topic for debate. I wish we had viewers on that we could actually have a topic of debate tonight. But right now, it looks like the chat's dead.
Reopened the investigation 6 years later.
Yeah, but I have a feeling it might pick up again.
Were fatally shot. His father Alec was recently convicted of their murders and sentenced to life in prison. But
in my opinion, to answer that question, I don't think it's a good thing if you're a major league team like the Mariners, like the Braves, okay, with Diaz like the Mets, you pay these guys millions and millions of dollars to play for your team, right? And you have so much expectations for your team. That puts them at so much more risk of getting injured, of having a slow start because they're more worn out at the beginning of the season because they've been playing for a couple of months more than what everybody else has. I would, as a compromise, the minor league season is about, I believe, about half the length of what the regular major league season is.
It's about 3 weeks less, yes, but so it's not really half. It's about 3 weeks less.
So if you really want to have the World Baseball Classic, and I like the format of, like, you know, having your country be representative and stuff, but why can't you use some of the minor leaguers that might not be familiar to, you know, the widespread baseball world, but some that maybe like the fans of their favorite teams have heard of? Like, you know, maybe for the Mariners it would be Emerson Hancock, Harry Ford, who I think is playing for Canada for Great Britain.
For Britain.
But you know what I mean? People like that. That way, not that if they got injured it wouldn't be as bad. I would never want anybody to get injured. But you're not paying them as much as you pay like a Julio Rodriguez or an Edwin Diaz or, you know, players like that. Tony, your thoughts?
World Baseball Classic. It's fun, but it could cost a team a playoff. It could cost teams players for that playoff run. It could cost the team good players, as in Edwin Diaz's case. You know, although the Mets are still stacked. But, you know, everybody says pitching beats a good defense every time. However, a better defense beats good pitching always. So, I mean, Who's going to get hurt more from this? I don't know. I mean, the Mets possibly, but Houston, as long as Altuve's out, they really don't have any speed or power in that lineup except for a couple of their outfielders. They've got a couple of good outfielders that can hit the ball real well. But moving forward, now I don't think the World Baseball Classic's a good idea, just like I don't think putting our pro athletes in the Olympics is a good idea.
I agree with that.
We need to be aware of where our money's going, and the great thing about renewal by industry is we have several financing options that we're going to make sense for our situation.
So we were talking before the show, like we always do, and he wanted to bring up some interesting points for some wrestling tonight. You want to start with your lead story?
Well, I think the lead story should be the fact that it was announced that Andy Kaufman is going to be the celebrity inductee into the Hall of Fame. Which to me isn't a huge surprise if you look at the impact that Andy Kaufman had, especially on the career of Jerry the King Lawler. Also, and I don't think I talked to you about this one, there's a rumor going around out there, speaking of the bloodline, that Nia Jax might be signing with AEW.
So that was just a one and done at the Royal Rumble?
Yes.
I can just see the storyline on AEW now. Jade Cargill needs a new baddie. Signs, member of the bloodline.
That would be one. No offense to Nia, and please don't beat me up for this one, but that would be one big baddie.
Well, I mean, you could be like Big Papa Pump, one big booty daddy.
Well, that's true.
You were talking about a tag team you wanted to talk about tonight on the podcast earlier.
Good. How's your day going? How are you feeling?
I'm trying to remember. I talked about a lot of stuff today.
Was it the North? No.
No. Oh God, who was it?
Maybe it'll come back to you.
Yeah.
What about this Davey Richards situation?
Okay, yeah, that's where I was gonna go next. For those who don't know, Davey Richards has been let go by MLW and effectively retired. And for those who are wondering, no, he's not dating Angelina Love anymore. She's dating the guy that she's with in the NWA.
Okay, keep going. I'll be right back.
All right. So he not only got let go by MLW, and I'll get to why in a minute, but his Infinity Wrestling School completely distanced themselves from him. And here's why. Not only did 4 women accuse Mr. Richards, and I have to reiterate accused because we don't know the whole story, of domestic violence, he was also giving false information to talent backstage about how they should run their career, young, impressionable talent in MLW, to which he was an agent and, would give advice on a regular basis. So then when a few months ago, Davey Richards wrestled Colby Carino at, I believe it was NWA 75. And he, when he wrestled for the NWA, he was under an exclusive contract with MLW. The, and for those who are new to wrestling and don't know what an exclusive contract is, um, an exclusive contract means that you can not work for any other promotion other than the promotion that you're signed to. So David Richards told the NWA that he was available for bookings when really he wasn't. The only reason he got to go on to NWA 75 was because MLW worked a deal out with the NWA, probably because they felt like it would be beneficial for both sides. Now let me talk about Davey Richards and the career that he pretty much has kind of flushed down the toilet, because if any of these domestic violence allegations are true, the court of public opinion, especially with pro wrestling, is incredibly harsh. So I mean, his legacy would be tarnished almost past the ability of coming back. Uh, let's go back and think about the career that Davey Richards had. Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards as the Wolves were probably one of the best technical tag teams that I had ever seen since like the British Bulldogs. And yes, I know that's a dated reference, but it kind of fits. In fact, in NXT was going to sign, and Triple H were going to sign the Wolves, but they messed up in a match and actually hurt one of the wrestlers, which kind of killed their tryout. And so that's why they didn't sign with NXT, but they kind of landed on their feet because a few weeks later, actually, I believe it was the next day, they ended up signing with Impact and became 5-time Impact champions. And then Davey would turn on Eddie, and they had some very good matches. Up until Eddie got hurt with a heel injury, I believe. And then Eddie kind of exploded as a singles star. And, that's when Davey kind of retired for the first time and became a paramedic, actually, in the state of Washington. And then he went to MLW, and he was doing great things over there. He had wrestled with Alex Kane, who I highly recommend people go check out. Part of the Boombaye Fight Club. I know Tony's gotten into a lot of the MLW stuff lately. And he had actually won the never open weight middleweight championship for MLW, which they kind of ripped off from New Japan, but that's here and there. And then he recently lost that belt, however, to John Hennigan, also known as Johnny Nitro, and a whole crap of other names that I'm not going to mention right now. But way to go for you, John, for reinventing yourself in any promotion that you go to, even though it's just, adding a name here or there. And so now it's gone. And it's kind of a bummer, because I think that he could have went down as one of, the best technical wrestlers, right up there with a Bryan Danielson. And that's the other thing is, if the fans remember when MJF was putting Bryan through the paces, they had Timothy Thatcher come in. And I still say, on a little side note, that Tony Khan should have signed Timothy Thatcher to AEW. I think he did end up signing him to ROH. But Davey Richards was telling people that AEW had contacted him about him coming in to wrestle Bryan Danielson, when Tony Khan's gone on record as saying that that never happened. So, again, to reiterate my beginning part of this, and I apologize, I can get long-winded, as Tony's already said and laughed about because it's true, is I think that Eddie Edwards, Davey Richards made the right decision retiring, because if any of these domestic violence allegations are proven to be founded, then his legacy and his career would have been over anyway. So
let's give our listeners a break. And let's give our host a break, because he went pretty long-winded. So we'll be back in 30. So the next bit of interesting trivia that we're going to talk about is the WrestleMania card is getting more and more stacked. And for those viewers that still don't remember, yes, Mr. Noss has a bet that he has to go absolutely perfect on this card, or he has to wear a dress to a Mariners game in August. I am not worried, because these next couple of matches that are going to be announced tonight, I don't think if I can steal a line from Vince McMahon, I don't think he has a chance in hell of going perfect on.
And those matches would be?
Well, as of right now, it's the Usos versus Kevin and Sammy for the unified tag titles. And then they gave us the Fatal 4-Way tag team, all four members of that tag team, Fatal 4-Way. So you got the Street Profits versus the Viking Raiders versus the Alpha Academy versus Strowman and Ricochet.
That one's the Fatal 4-Way is probably gonna be the hardest one to pick. Although in my mind now, I'm starting to kind of pick teams apart and say, okay, well, they probably won't give that one the win, or, you know. And the other thing we don't know is, are these Fatal 4-Ways for the men and the women? Are they for anything, or are they just Fatal 4-Ways to fill out the card of WrestleMania?
I think they're Fatal 4-Ways for championship opportunities.
That would make more sense.
And we've only got one woman so far qualified for the Fatal 4-Way for the women.
And that would be Liv Morgan,
who qualified on Friday.
And I, for the life of me right now, can't remember who her partner is.
So, like I said, I am absolutely not worried 100%.
Oh, I remember. Sorry, I remember who her partner was. It was Raquel Rodriguez.
Yes. Because as Nathan said, these fatal four-way matches are extremely difficult to pick. So I'm going to say with about a 95% accuracy saying we'll see Mr. Noss in August in drag.
And if anybody's listening to this but don't want to come on as a viewer, send me a message and give me your percentage on how much you think that I have to get all these right.
Not a chance in hell.
Although I do have to say, Whoever helps me get a dress if I do lose, nothing floral. I don't think that's my right. That would work with my skin tone.
And nothing emo with a tail and cat ears either.
Meow.
So
Before we go on to our next topic, I do want to say something that I thought about towards the end of our preparation thing. I want to send out our best wishes to Larry D. I don't know who Larry D is. He was with Impact for a while. His house burnt down.
I told you to remember who you were going to talk about. That was the guy you were going to talk about. That's right.
And I do know there's his ex-wife set up a GoFundMe account to help them pay for the stuff that they lost. Those type of things are kind of near and dear to my heart because I was involved in an apartment fire, so I understand what that feels like. So please, one, pray for that family and that they kind of rebound quickly. And if you can search for that GoFundMe, please donate and help them out.
So let's talk about the GCW World Heavyweight Champion.
Yes, for those of you who don't know, I believe, and as far as my executive producer, please correct me if I'm wrong, I believe this is only the second time that a woman's been a heavyweight champion. The first being Tessa Blanchard in Impact Wrestling. So, for those of you who don't know, Masha Slamovich became the GCW, which is Game Changer Wrestling, heavyweight champion over the weekend. And we're not talking about that she beat just, some guy that they had brought in and, the title was up for grabs or anything. She beat deathmatch legend Nick Gage. And people might have heard of Nick Gage from his feuds with John Moxley over the GCW championship. So my thing is, it'll be interesting to see, since Masha Slamovich is also signed to Impact Wrestling, does GCW and Brett Lauderdale work a deal out with Scott D'Amore so she brings the belt to Impact? I mean, personally, I would. It benefits both companies that way.
And let's think about this for a minute. If Marsha Slamovich actually can beat Mickie James, she would be the first woman to hold a man's title and a woman's title at the same time.
Actually, she doesn't have a title shot with Mickie James.
Oh, she doesn't have the title? Oh, no, that's Jordan Grace. That's right.
Yes. Although, I thank you for saying that, because I want to bring up a spot that I keep forgetting to bring up on the podcast about the last match that Mickie James and Masha Slamovich had. Masha Slamovich had Mickie in a rear naked choke. Have you heard about this spot?
Yes.
And Masha Slamovich went to lick Mickie James on the cheek. Not unlike what Mickie used to do to Trish Stratus, by the way. And Mickey's counter to that was to bite her tongue. And as anybody knows who's accidentally bit their tongue, that's enough to get you to break pretty much anything. So I thought that was a very entertaining and inventive way to get out of a rear naked choke.
But wasn't that also the match where Mickie James actually tapped out?
No, that was the one that set up this match with Jordan Grace.
That's right. Oh, that's right. She actually tapped out to Jordan.
Ironically, to another rear naked choke. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of trivia to you because I know you follow Impact a little bit. That Steph DeLander showed up a couple of weeks ago, and she
Okay.
lost to Jordan Grace. Do you know who that was?
I know the face. I just don't know the.
She was former NXT superstar Persia Parada. I also found out today, and again, I find out most of my stuff from Ango. You guys should check out his YouTube channels. He has a couple of them. He has the regular Ango, um, his news channel, and he also has Ango Plays, where he actually plays through WWE 2K23. I also found out what exactly is keeping Bray Wyatt possibly off of WrestleMania. And it's not a physical injury. He's actually ill with some kind of like medical issue. But nobody said exactly what it is yet. Speaking of WWE 2K23, have you heard anything about that, Tony?
What's that?
Have you heard of anything about WWE 2K23?
Just besides, it's supposed to be a really good game. I haven't rented it yet.
Yeah, the the men's My Rise thing is hilarious from what I've seen off of Ango's channel. You start as like the next big thing like Brock Lesnar, but your character name is The Lock.
Oh yeah.
And I believe we have a comment from our From the Chair Facebook page. You want to read that for us?
So I heard you wanted to sing for the fans. LOL. You remember, I've heard you sing.
Well, thank you for putting me on the spot. Actually, I'm going to tell you what my tentative plans are, and then we'll go from there. I know that Tony and I are going to be going to the Court Carpenter concert on June 24th, which if anybody in the Kelso Longview area or the surrounding areas that would like to go to that, I would highly recommend it. He puts on great shows. I believe you can still buy tickets at Bob's Sporting Goods here in Longview, or or at cookandcountry.com. And I believe they're $10. So
Hey, quit stalling and answer the question.
my plan is to see if we can get Carpenter in on the podcast at some point before the show. And okay, That picture of people, I am not dead. I don't know why my eyes were closed like that. And apparently we have a viewer now, so thank you for that. I would sing for you right now, but I wasn't really prepared to do that, so.
Okay, well, I think I need a break after that scary thought. So we'll be back in 30. And we're back.
So I think now we should make an announcement about what we talked about last night about the internet getting better. Unfortunately, that didn't actually go like we anticipated this morning because of technical issues with the internet in the building. But with the help of Tony and his wife Amber, we got something set up. So I'm just waiting to get the phone in the mail, and then we should be able to get some more steady internet. Let's talk about the Seahawks for a minute because they made a lot of. Is that your way to saying I'm putting you to sleep?
Who, me? Oh, never.
So the Seahawks made a couple of signings recently. They signed former Pittsburgh Steeler Devin Bush II and safety Jamal Love from former New York Giant. But the biggest question in the NFL is how long is it going to take for the Packers and the Jets to come to a compensation package for Aaron Rodgers? And what would that compensation package be? Thoughts?
Well, let me tell you something there, Mr. Nathan Noss.
There's that Hulk Hogan impersonation again.
Aaron Rodgers shouldn't be going to the Jets. He should be making a one-way ticket to join you in the retirement home, because that's where Rodgers needs to be. Is retired. He's washed up. He has nothing left.
You almost broke me on that one. I don't know if he's so much washed up, although I can see why people would think that. I think the Jets might have, though, painted themselves in a corner because you've already went and signed Alan Lazard because Rodgers wanted you to. They're in negotiations with Randall Cobb and the tight end that Rodgers wanted. So you're signing all these people if you're the New York Jets. And what happens if you can't come to an agreement with the Packers on trading Aaron Rodgers? I mean, then you're stuck with Zach Wilson, and he, then you're back in that fiasco that you had last year.
You mean Wilson Zachariah?
Yes,
Yes.
and although to be fair, I think the Packers have painted themselves in a corner because I don't have any faith in Jordan Love either, or maybe it'd be better to say I have no love for Jordan Love.
I do know one thing though, Mr. Rogers Aaron will be deleted.
I saw him on AEW Dark tonight in a 6-man tag with Isaiah Cassidy and Ethan Page.
Delete.
And they were against against 3 enhancement talents, so they pretty much owned them.
They deleted their competition.
Yeah, I guess the only newsworthy thing about that match was that Stokely Hathaway, in preparation for his match against Hook, put on a Dragon Sleeper. Speaking of a Dragon Sleeper, I saw the most painful surfboard Dragon Sleeper combination by Emi Sakura on AEW Dark today that I've ever seen in pro wrestling, and that's saying something. You know how most people, when they do the Dragon Sleeper out of a surfboard position, they rest the guy on the person on their knees, and then bend them back and put them in the Dragon Sleeper. Well, Emi Sakura bent her opponent backwards from the top position in the surfboard, which I'm telling you right now, your back's not supposed to bend that way. Talk about this dream match between one of my and Tony's favorite wrestlers, Mr. Kenny By God Omega, and a guy that I am going to try to pronounce his name, and please forgive me if I mess it up because it's incredibly hard to say. El Hijo Bagkirio. For those of you who don't know who that guy is, he's actually the guy that took over the AAA Omega Championship when Kenny Omega had to, when Kenny Omega went out with his injuries. The man can fly all over the ring. So kudos to Tony Khan for making this happen. Really looking forward to that match. He kind of reminds me of like a Kenny Omega size with the athleticism of a combination of like AJ Styles and maybe like Rey Fenix of the Lucha Brothers. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that match. Looking forward to seeing how badly Stokely Hathaway gets killed by Hook.
You're forgetting one thing there, though, Nos. It's a no disqualification match.
I didn't forget it. Yes, he could have the Firm, or if they're even calling them the Firm anymore, interfere. But I mean, Hook's shown he can beat everybody in the Firm. He's already beaten Big Bill. He's beaten Lee Moriarty. And and he's beaten Ethan Page. And I guess they could force Matt Hardy and Isaiah Cassidy to attack him. But then again, he beat Matt Hardy. The other match I'm looking forward to is the World Tag Team title match, which is between the Guns and Top Flight. I personally, I would love to see Top Flight take the titles. Just because I think they're more entertaining than the Guns are. But I mean, that's just me. And then the match that I know Tony will probably be interested in would be John Moxley versus the recently re-signed Stu Grayson.
I enjoy anything Moxley's in. Hold on, let me get my razor.
So, following up on that, do you agree with the fact that Moxley turned heel? Or would you have kept him face longer?
You see, I'm torn because Moxley is a damn good face, but he's such a phenomenal heel. You know, and who he is with now, I'm actually going to say this. The faction of the BCC is actually one of my favorite factions of all times, and this is from a man that had loved the Shield.
Yes, very much so.
Happens to be the other faction John Moxley was in.
Funny how that works.
And I think John Moxley has surpassed that with the BCC, and John Moxley has surpassed both Roman Reigns and Seth freaking Rollins in wrestling over the last 2 years.
I would agree with that. Now, the only thing I'm going to say that I don't like about the BCC as heels, because I agree with the fact that both Claudio and Moxley are great as heels. But, and maybe it's because I need to see more of it. It almost feels like Wheeler Yuta is kind of forcing him, his heel turn. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't feel as comfortable as a heel as he did, as a baby face.
And that could be because this could be the first time that Wheeler's actually turned heel in his career.
That's a very valid point.
I mean, and the other two are there and that's why they wanted those two to stay together. So, I think, it's going to be probably a really good learning experience for Wheeler.
Yeah.
So, I know Nathan went on record here and predicted a match for WrestleMania that may or may not be on the card. But, when that match happens, I'm going to hold it. I'm going to hold him to his answer.
All right.
But it may not happen at WrestleMania. So, I mean, even Dakota said it might not happen at WrestleMania. But at some point, you're going to get Mask versus Career, Ray versus Dominic. But that's not where I was going with this. I was just making a long-winded statement like my host does.
Got you.
Where I was going with this was
The Andy Griffith Show. Starring.
the Andy Griffith Show. That's where I was going.
Also starring Don Duck.
So I know that Mr. Noss have had better days.
I'm never gonna live that picture down. I don't know why I put that.
This is all part of the executive producer in me. And Nathan put some pictures up, and I can just embarrass the hell out of him. Look at this. A little baby.
Aww.
A little baby pinned the chairman, and he's a wrestling god. And a little kid pinned him.
Yes,
That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. My grandson doesn't even beat me.
But I can't say no to that face.
I put my grandson in a sharpshooter and make him tap.
I don't know if you'd want to be admitting that on a live stream.
Although I don't put a full sharpshooter on him.
Oh, just a half one?
I just put a hand in there and pretend it's a sharpshooter.
Oh, got it.
So I mean, it's not even hurting the baby.
And for those of you who are wondering who that baby was, that's my niece Magnolia.
Dearly departed, we are here tonight to honor the death of Nathan Noss.
Yep, I knew that was a mistake putting that picture up there.
Good thing we don't have any fans on here tonight. But hey, for the ones that are going to watch on YouTube, at least you can see our comedic side.
Yeah, and the thing is, I'm not asleep in that picture. I don't know why. Sometimes when I look at a camera, my eyes...
That's right. He's not asleep in the picture, y'all. He is actually dead. They had to resuscitate him and bring him back to life.
Well, I mean, if you think back to a time when I lived on 27th, some of my neighbors thought I was dead once and literally called the police. So that was an interesting moment.
So we're not going to get into that story because then I'd have to bring up the other story, and I don't want to get banned from Facebook or
YouTube.
I don't want to get banned from YouTube, and I don't want to get thrown in Facebook jail. So
that's a very wise point.
So I think I'll keep that comment to ourselves when we go offline. If any of the viewers want to hear it, we'll talk to them then.
Yep.
But
so I was watching the A&E biography on both Jerry Lawler and Paige last night. By the way, very well done. A&E does a wonderful job on their biography documentaries. And it was very interesting how they described the heart attack that Jerry Lawler had in September of 2012. I believe Michael Cole said that Jerry Lawler had just won it in a six-man with Randy Orton and I believe Dolph Ziggler. And he went back to do the commentary, and Michael Cole said he sounded like Lawler sounded like he was snoring. And Michael Cole thought that, he was just making fun of the match that was in the ring, like Lawler was known to do. until he kind of face planted onto the announce table.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
But the most interesting one, because now on the biographies they started doing like 2 a night, was the
Right.
one with Paige. Like, you had heard some of the stuff that she had been through, but to hear it from her in her words, and the feelings that she went through, from not feeling like she was good enough to be in the public eye, um, and you know, the addiction to drugs and to alcohol that she overcame, which I have to give her immense credit for, because anybody with an addiction knows that's not easy. Um, so I believe next week's are Charlotte and the late great Yokozuna,
Yes, you're correct.
which I believe on that one we'll see another matriarch of the bloodline, which is one that Tony and I hope will be back, because that's a rumor for SmackDown that we get to go to on the 7th, which is, as Tony was making the arm gestures for, is Mr. Rikishi.
And I'll tell you something right now, Mr. Noss. If he does come back, you've got a stink face in your future.
From who? Okay, let's be real here, right? How in the hell are you gonna get me down to the ring, throw me out of my chair, and get me into the ring so Rikishi can give me a stink face?
Oh, security?
So what the heck would you tell security?
You don't want to know.
Oh, I think I do.
This man said he could beat Rikishi with one arm tied behind his back and blindfolded.
Well, FYI, I can't put my arm behind my back even if I'm not blindfolded. And plus, that would be one heck of a thing to, like, if the blindfold fell down right before he hits the stink face.
Oh, it would. Trust me. Because you're not going to be blindfolded.
Really?
Oh, no, you wouldn't be blindfolded.
Well, you did say blindfolded at first.
Oh, I know. The audience would be blindfolded because they don't want to see you scream.
Well, as I said yesterday, it's better to see me scream than Vince McMahon's pimply ass on WWE Raw.
But no, Mr. Noss, it wouldn't be Rikishi giving you a stink face.
Who would it be?
It'd be me.
Ew.
Remember, I know how to operate your chair, boy.
My luck, you would like load up on every kind of like chili dog or anything that they could.
It's time for your stink face.
Amber looks at the credit or the debit card bill later. Why did you buy like 12 chili dogs at the Moda Center?
You'll find out here in just a minute, babe. You'll find out here in just a minute.
Okay, so Tony, we saw Nathan on on SmackDown. Why'd he look green?
Because he got backed that ass up.
And I know Tonette, she'd be like, Nathan, you're on your own. Perfect time for a bathroom break. So I want to make another announcement. instead of doing the after dark shows on Saturdays, I will be doing them every day after wrestling. So, like Mondays, it'll be probably around like 11 midnight, somewhere in there. Just because, to be perfectly honest with you, it's hard to remember everything that happened on Raw, NXT, AEW, Impact, and SmackDown and Rampage by the time we get to Saturday. Although, programming note, this week's Rampage is on Saturday because of the NCAA March Madness.
And speaking of programming note, another match has been added to that already stacked Dynamite card on Wednesday night.
Which is
a trios match.
Okay.
One team features the Butcher and the Blade and Kip Sabian.
Ooh.
And the second team, and we'll go into a story with this team here in a minute, is Darby Allin, freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy, and a partner of their choosing.
Interesting.
And their partner is Sting!
Nice. I like that match. Chalk that up to another one that I'm gonna be looking forward to seeing on Wednesday.
And then, I'm full of really big hype tonight because I'm also the executive producer from SOA Radio.
So you're getting your radio voice back up and ready, huh?
So I'm getting my hype voice back up and ready.
So does that mean for the first episode I gotta work on my hype voice in case you can't make it for the?
Nos, shush, please. Nobody wants to hear you.
So speaking of that,
nobody wants to hear you. Hush, shush.
Hoosh? What's a hoosh?
But anyways, let's get back to that story at that house show that AEW had.
Oh wow. Whoa.
Anyways, I guess at that house show. Hello from East Tennessee.
Yes, hello, Doug from East Tennessee.
Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy were tag teaming in that house show, and I guess they seen a little kid out in the fan. It was his first match, and they're both his favorite wrestlers. So after the match, Orange took him out of the crowd, and Darby took him up and let him hit all 4 rings and pose with Darby. At the end of that, Darby high-fived him, and Orange carried him back into the arms of his parents. Fans, ladies and gentlemen, AEW is such a top-class organization. You wouldn't see wrestlers being allowed to do that in WWE.
No, you wouldn't. And to answer our next question, we are doing fine. Doug, how are you? And you're right. AEW is taking care of both Brody Lee's family, Mark Jay Briscoe's family. They took care of the kid that MJF threw the drink in the face of. Which again, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm gonna defend MJF on this one. If that was vodka, in that moment, I don't think he would have really known, because if it's clear enough, he probably thought it was water. But yes, he shouldn't have thrown any liquid in the kid's face. But
So I'm kind of curious. Hey, Doug, how'd you hear from our podcast? Are you with a promotion, or did you find somebody that is already a... Joey Styles is color commentator in AEW.
I would love to see that. Joey Styles is like a diamond in the rough that...
Oh, very nice.
Very nice. Anyway, Joey Styles is one of the most diamond in the rough broadcasters that you could ever hear. I mean, for those who didn't watch ECW, that man carried on what Jim Ross and Jerry the King Waller were doing by himself. So, I'm guessing by that question, Doug, you're more of an AEW fan than a WWE fan, or do you kind of like both?
So this goes to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that even if you find us on Facebook and join our podcast, we will treat you like family.
Yes. So he answered that question, and he likes both, as do I. So we talked a lot about the bloodline today. What are your thoughts about the bloodline, Doug? Pro, con? You think Roman Reigns should lose his title already? But yes, getting back to that Darby Allin thing, that's amazing. It's so great when you can make a young kid's wrestling experience, you know, rem, be remembered.
Yes. And I actually agree with that comment that Doug just put down there. He says he thinks Cody will win because WWE has been pushing Cody with all the videos.
Yes, I agree with that also. Also, like, I think Vince did so much to discredit Dusty Rhodes because of the fact that Dusty left when Vince wanted to push him back in the early days, that I think Triple H just kind of wanted to make up for that. Plus, he'll want to make up for Stardust. So let's talk about the coolest thing to me that happened on AEW this week. The fact that the four pillars of the company, minus Britt Baker, DMD, came out to ruin Mr. MJF's Rebar Mitzvah. And I'm talking about Jungle Boy, Sammy Guevara, and Darby Allin. I thought that was one of the most entertaining opening segments I've seen probably in the last few months. Thoughts from anyone?
That's a good question.
Ooh.
We're gonna go with that question. So, since Bray Wyatt's not going to be at WrestleMania, do you think Bobby Lashley will interfere with the Almas Brock Lesnar match because he has problems with both of them? That's a good question.
That's a very good question, and I can see that happening because there's only a couple of weeks before WrestleMania. So
1 week
you're
from
not.
Saturday, so it's not even a couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, 1 week from Saturday. So you're not gonna put. You're not gonna have time to put Bobby Lashley in another match with somebody. So yeah, I would love to see that happen because it would add more intrigue to a match with Brock and Omos that really hasn't had the best build up for it yet, in my opinion.
Well, both the host and I have a love-hate relationship with Mr. MJF. I think he's a pompous ass, but he does his job as the face of the company's heel because he makes the fan want to hate him. However, you can't really hate a man for being Cody Rhodes' best friend. But with that being said, he's the biggest pompous ass that I've seen in professional freaking wrestling today.
And for me, you got to give credit to a guy that lives his character 24 hours a day because from what I've been hearing, that's what MJF does. But I'm begging MJF to get rid of the Chris Jericho ripoff scarf. I mean, seriously, that's like Jericho 101. Although I am a little bit jealous for MJF being able to make out with that girl right in front of his bar mitzvah.
Do we think AEW is getting Hobbs ready to go after MJF?
That's another good question and a very good possibility.
It's a good question, but I think MJF's next opponent is going to be, I'm sorry, I've got to do it.
Go for it.
Adam Cole, baby.
And see, I would have to agree somewhat with Doug. I think that it's a good possibility. Because we don't know how healthy, even though he's been cleared, Adam Cole is. That they could be getting a Hobbs ready, especially with this new QTV that's a spoof off of TMZ. But my pick for his next challenger would probably be Jungle Boy.
Yeah, possibly Jungle Boy. AEW likes to do long storylines, so if they start interfering Hobbs now, then I would say yes. Probably within a year, they would have Hobbs versus MJF. Would it be for the title? Probably not, because we all know in 2024, let's be real, Maxwell Jacob Dickhead or Friedman, that's it, I'm sorry, Friedman is going to the WWE.
Okay, we have another question from him.
Cole could be, do you think AEW needs something like the U.S. Tag Team Champion titles? I think AEW needs to not only bring like another tag team belt, but I think they need to bring women's tag titles and possibly like a even somewhat, so to speak, like a hardcore 24/7 title type thing.
And I agree with that, but I would like to see them bring in the United States tag titles because of Tony Khan being such a historian about pro wrestling. And Doug never apologized for liking to talk about pro wrestling.
I mean, if you knew our host at the very beginning of this show, or even as long as I've known him, you know, he's a blabbermouth. He thinks he's a wrestling historian. You know, I was going online last night just joking with him, but I think I'm going to implement it one of these days. I think I'm going to have fans' questions come in, and we're going to play Stump the Host. And if you can actually stump the host, I will bring you in on a podcast of your choosing, so you could be the host for the night.
And I'm completely okay with that.
So I don't know when we're going to play that game, but that's right, fans. We are going to play Stump the Host, and if you can stump the host, you will be able to host your very own episode of From the Chair. And we'll even change that name with Nathan to your name. That's right. So it'll be your podcast for the day.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit about Impact. Do you think Sami Callihan's actually going to join the design?
I think Sami Callihan needs to go back and to Revolve and run his company. So he goes, he might be wrong, but he thinks Breaker is going to lose soon, and when Breaker comes to the main roster, I think he'll bring will be one to take the title from Theory, because Breaker's dad and uncle were both U.S. champions.
Very good point.
Touche. I like this man. He's very wrestling knowledge and observe. This man could give you a run for your money for that chair, bud.
Yes, I think so.
Yes, I think at Stand and Deliver he actually loses the title. As much as our host hates the person that he's going up against.
But my only thing to that, I don't disagree with him losing the title at Stand and Deliver, but there has been the rumor of Carmelo Hayes possibly being called up and joining the reformed Hurt business if they ever put that back together.
But it doesn't necessarily mean he has to stay NXT champion forever. I mean, they did bring up an NXT champion, and he lost the next month at the pay-per-view.
That's true. And they did the same thing with Paige when she won the Divas Championship.
That's right. I think if Orton comes back, it's going to be... My personal opinion is, Roman Reigns, it's time for you to lose. And it's been set up, Cody coming back for forever, that he's going to win the world title. So, Orton costing Roman the match? No. However, I think Orton does come back and debut at Mania. Yes, that's a spoiler.
I actually like that idea, though. I'm not sure if I think it's going to happen, but I like that idea because I know how much Triple H likes to play back to the history of the wrestling business. And Cody's first big run was with Legacy, so, I mean, there is a connection there.
That's very true. So, since Doug's on here, you know, he probably hasn't watched these shows. So, Mr. Noss has got a bet going here. He has to run the table of the WrestleMania card, getting every match, including the pre-show matches, 100% correct. But if he doesn't, he has to wear a dress and dress like a woman to a Seattle Mariners baseball game in the month of August. And here in Washington State, it gets really, really hot in the month of August.
Yeah, and my luck, I'll probably look like Mae Young when she came up on Raw to do that Bronco Buster on Eric Bischoff.
Ooh. I'm thinking at this point that's going to be the only way that Rey Mysterio accepts the match, because it's a rumored match at WrestleMania. It's supposed to be Dominic versus Rey, Mask versus Career.
Yes, I agree, and I think
I almost lost my focus when I seen that last comment.
I did too. I do think that'll happen though. He'll probably attack Conan or Ray at the Hall of Fame. And yes, I have to agree that in her own way, I guess Mae Young was a sexy lady.
It's really hard to stay in character when you get comments like that, too. Just to let you know.
But thank you. We encourage comments like that.
But we love the comments. Keep them coming. So normally the way that this runs, Doug, is we do a show every Sunday night and Monday night. 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Monday and 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Sunday. Nathan does after dark. He's going to start doing on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays.
And Wednesdays, because we're Dynamite.
Oh, that's right. And so he's going to start doing a show every night after dark. We also are very big in Special Olympics. So we have athletes of Special Olympians coming on and doing interviews. And we actually do have the occasional wrestler pop in every once in a while. So far, our biggest interview to date so far is Levi Cooper, formerly known as Tucker Knight of the WWE.
Yes, that one was phenomenal to do. It can be found. And can be found on the From the Chair Facebook YouTube page.
So we've got plenty of wrestling and podcasts. If you like talking wrestling, we're always here to talk wrestling. Well, you have a good one, Doug. You're always welcome to come on the show. And again, we're on Sundays at 7 Pacific time and Mondays at 6 Pacific time. And as long as you like and subscribe to the Facebook page, you'll always see when we come on live. So have a great night, and we'll see you later.
And please tell your friends to come with you.
So now with that last let's take a 30-second break and we'll come right back. Okay, and we're back, and we'd again like to give a shout out and a thanks to Doug for joining us all the way from East Tennessee.
Yes, very much.
It was an honor to actually get to sit and answer his questions, and hopefully soon you guys will find that Facebook page, anybody that likes wrestling, and come and chat with us.
Yes, I mean, we welcome anybody to talk about wrestling. As Tony said, we both can talk about it for hours and hours on end.
So
It looks like we still have one person joining us on Facebook.
okay, so we still have somebody in the. Well, that's a thumbs up, so I don't see anybody.
Oh, okay. That's just a like. Well, thank you, Doug, for the like also.
Yes, that's a like. But moving on, this has been such a great show tonight. We need to give a shout out to Andrew Young for giving us such a great interview yesterday. Miss Megan Gaines for giving us a great interview last Sunday. Even a shout out to the host for working his tail off to bring us all this wrestling knowledge of his.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you, like you said, to both of those. Megan and Andrew. We're looking forward to doing Wesley, who was just on the Jericho cruise this past year, and is an expert, he says, in the late '60s pro wrestling scene.
And next Wednesday we will be doing Special Olympics own DJ Shane.
Yes, and I can honestly say for that one, be prepared to laugh on that one because Shane is very, very. Yes, and I can honestly say Shane is very quick-witted and very has very quick comedic timing. So I have a feeling we'll be laughing a lot during that one.
Well, if I would have known this, I would have said, Doug, thank you for your service, brother.
Is he in the
United States Army vet out of Fort Knox, Kentucky. So, again, brother,
thank you so much.
Thank you for your service.
Yes, very much so. Wow, and and I'm gonna be real here for a minute. I was gonna wait till we ended this, but I have to say this now. This is such an awesome moment, I know, for both Tony and myself, that that people are wanting to listen to our shows and interacting with us. For me personally, this is something that I've wanted to do not pretty much all my life, and it's a very humbling experience. Not to get too sappy about everything, but I kind of felt like that needed to be said. So,
and for me, this is just living this moment through Nathan and getting to produce such a beautiful show and getting fans from Tennessee. In fact, I believe I'll have to look again. Let me look real quick.
I know everything about how you start your business.
I'll have to look at that.
Business.
Oh, believe me, I'm not going anywhere.
Your business, no problem. Yeah. Success.
So he lives in Greensville, Tennessee.
Ooh, good wrestling town.
It's a great wrestling town, and again, for him being such a wrestling knowledge, I'm glad that he lives in such a great wrestling town and a great wrestling city. And I'm glad that he actually has a town in the city or in the state of Tennessee that has a former WWE superstar as their mayor.
Yes.
And if anybody in Knoxville is listening, and Glenn Jacobs, if you're available, this podcast is wide open for you, my brother.
Yes, and it's uncensored, so you can say anything you want. Open forum.
And you can even bring the pyro and your flames, and we can talk about hellfire and brimstone all you want.
Yes. Although I have to say, as Dakota pointed out at the beginning of this, I do have a jump reflex. So if you use the pyro, I might jump completely up to the ceiling of the frontier.
That was an interesting tag team matchup.
What was it?
For the women's tag titles, or for the women's the Fatal 4-Way.
Really?
They had their second match.
What was it?
One team was Piper Niven, and Chelsea Green, I think, was her partner. And the other match were opponents at WrestleMania.
Asuka and Bianca Belair.
Asuka and Bianca Belair.
Wow. That is interesting. Excuse me, I gotta turn Raw on, so when...
Oh, is it getting ready to start for you? It is.
No, not quite yet. I just like to turn it on when it gets close, so that way when I get done, I don't have to fumble around for my remote and try to miss something. We still have about 19 minutes left.
All I can say, Nathan, is your podcast now, my man, has reached Tennessee.
Yeah, our podcast has reached Tennessee.
Okay, I'll give you that. Touche. Our podcast has reached the state of Tennessee.
So that is that again. Thank you to Doug. That was I don't really think I have words other than what I said earlier.
No, exactly. Thank you. Many thank yous. And everybody was thinking this Facebook page from the chair wasn't going to get us anywhere. My God, man, it got us a Facebook lead.
It got us.
Yeah, it did.
And as you said to Doug, I kind of pride myself on being a trivia buff, especially when it comes to pro wrestling. So when we start doing the Stump the Host part of this podcast, please don't hesitate to come on, because I welcome the challenge.
And honestly, just that few minutes of talking with Mr. Doug, I think he's going to give you a run for your money, Mr. Chairman.
I know, but that gets me... See, the thing is, that's what gets my mind excited, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, but the way I see it, that means parking 1 hour for one car. Yeah. Well, it's plain to see this outfit here takes up as much space as 2 cars.
So, let's go back to that Sami Callahan thing. How much longer do you think they're going to go with that?
How much longer do I think they're going to... I don't know. With Sami Callahan, anything's possible.
That's true, and thank goodness he didn't stay in WWE with that whole Solomon Crow thing.
Oh, I'm gonna be stupid. Was that actually Solomon Crow? Was actually Sammy?
Yes, that was Sammy Callahan's name in NXT.
Oh wow. Okay, I'll be right back again.
All right.
Go ahead and do your podcast. I'll be right back.
So, let's talk about some of the women wrestlers that I might like to see in, like, maybe AEW that aren't there right now. There's a lady in NWA named Samantha Starr. And I know for some people that name won't ring any bells, because believe me, for a while it didn't for me either. But Samantha Starr is actually the daughter of former manager of Tully Blanchard and mainstay of the NWA, Baby Doll. I think with the wrestling ability that she's shown in the NWA, she would do wonderful in AEW, maybe even in Impact. NWA has shown that they have a working relationship with Impact based on the fact that the Hexas showed up to take out the Death Dolls, although they lost, and now the Covenant beat them and is the new Knockouts Tag Team Champions. Which, congratulations to Kylan King. Talk about a woman that didn't let what some people might look at as setbacks stop her from accomplishing her goal. I mean, to be perfectly fair, let's think about this for a minute. I don't know if the women's division would be as strong as it is now in AEW without Kylan King helping out so much during the pandemic era when they were in when they were at Daly's place. So the fact that she's finally getting her time to shine in Impact Wrestling, kudos to you, Scott D'Amore. And from the host and the executive producer from the chair, congratulations on your promotion to executive vice president of or president of Impact Wrestling. Well deserved. We don't talk about Impact a lot. It's just kind of like a passing thing, and I think I kind of want to change that a little bit, because I think Impact is finally getting past the Dixie Carter days, and it's kind of reverting back to the days of old of the TNA days.
Amen to that.
Now, my question is, did you know that about that female wrestler I talked about at the beginning, or did you hear that?
No, I didn't get a chance. All I heard was she was the daughter of Baby Doll.
Yeah, her name's Samantha Starr.
Okay.
She wrestles for the NWA.
Okay.
And she has the movement of like a Dr. Death. And I think Tony Khan would jump at her again, playing up the fact that he likes to, pay homage to the history. And the fact that, her mom was one of the main contributing factors to the Four Horsemen. And then I brought up a point about Kylan King. I said that, and maybe I'm going out on a limb here, but I like to do that a lot. That I don't know if the AEW women's division would be as strong as it is now, or would have had the foundation that it has now, if Kylan King wouldn't have been a big part of the show when they were going through the pandemic period.
Yes.
So I want to give kudos to Scott D'Amore, and I think I gave him our congratulations for his.
I heard that part. So. Yeah.
So here's what I think they're gonna do with the Covenant, though. The way that the Covenant debuted is they took out another former NXT superstar, which was Killer Kelly. That's how when Kylan King debuted. So knowing Killer Kelly like we do, I could see her maybe bringing a partner in and going after the Covenant. Now, who that partner would be, I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. So, I agree with everything that you say normally. So, moving on, we've got about 7 minutes of live airtime left. We're going to try to keep it around 2 hours, maybe a little over. But we've got about 7 minutes of live airtime left. I'm gonna brace my inner Excalibur, and coming in the next couple of weeks, we've got the live interview with DJ Shane. Don't forget to eat pancakes if you're in the Longview, Kelso, Calais County, Columbia County area of Oregon. Come to Faith Family Christian Center on Saturday for a pancake breakfast from 8 to 11. Benefits Special Olympics, Longview, Kelso. Wesley on April 16th. Tubbs the weekend after that. Solo Radio debuts again for one night only on May 19th. Many more announcements yet to come, but for everything else, please, please, please come support your local Special Olympians. Like, subscribe, and watch this podcast. Obviously, as you found out, we had a new member tonight from East Tennessee join us. And one of these days, maybe it'll be live from the chair with Doug Raines instead of.
Yeah, and also don't forget about our pre and post show for April 7th when we go to SmackDown.
That'll be live from Portland, Oregon.
Which, I mean, come on. I am over the moon excited to go to that one. I mean, who wouldn't be excited to go to this first SmackDown after WrestleMania?
That's right. Who would be crazy not to go to the first SmackDown after WrestleMania? Dummy, yeah.
And I have to say thank you to Tony once again for that, because it was Tony that called me. I believe it was a Monday, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, it was the Thursday after you guys went to AEW Dynamite.
Actually, it was Rampage and Battle of the Belts.
Oh, sorry, Rampage.
Just to correct the host, which I most often always do.
And you called me and you said, and I'll never forget it, you said, me, you, Tonette, Portland. SmackDown. And my response was, I'm there.
You know, so you know, I poke fun and I am the comic relief on all of this because that's just me.
Yep.
Nathan knows that this podcast was his brainchild, and I've just helped him make it to the podcast that it is today. And quite honestly, now since he didn't get to do his thing at the end, I'm going to do my thing at the end. You know, quite honestly, I was hoping for great success for this show. And each week, it surprises me more and more when more and more and more people come and watch and subscribe and like our Facebook pages, our YouTube stations, and actually pop in for the first time, not even knowing us or involved with the wrestling promotion. He just wanted to come in and talk wrestling, which is awesome. Which is very, very cool.
It is very cool.
You know, to me, that is very cool. So, with that being said, we've now got about 4 minutes left. So, let's run through a list of sponsors. Thank you to Becky Bernhardt and the CARE program. Without her, this podcast would not be possible.
Absolutely.
Let's be honest. Without her, this podcast would not be possible. Who's the other sponsors, Nate?
Also, we'd like to thank Bruce Nichols Painting out of Toodle for sponsoring. And I believe that's it right now. I know we have a possible one coming up, but I'm still working on the details for that one. But again, like Tony said, please support wherever you're at. Support your Special Olympics athletes. Special Olympics has done so much for both Tony and I that we just want anybody and everybody to support them. Even if you don't compete, just go out, cheer the athletes on, right? And again, before we run out of time, I want to bring up Kellen. Help me pronounce that name because I'm probably butchering it. Who is, and you brought this up at a meeting we were at, I believe the only 4th or 5th person from the state, from Longview, Kelso, to be able to go to the World Games in, I believe this year they're in Germany.
Yes.
So.
But with that being said, look forward to Nathan's live After Dark tonight.
Yes.
Sometime between 11 p.m. and midnight Pacific Standard Time.
Yep.
For him to talk about his thoughts on Raw. I will join you again on Sunday when we do a live from the chair with his co-host, Miss Tonette, coming back for one and done or one and.
Actually, I don't. I think that one's on the 31st. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so
that's
be
the week after.
That'll be 2 weeks. That's right. She's coming back the Sunday before WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, it's been an honor. And we bid you adieu. Bang.
I like it when he does that.
And that is all we have time for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you next week.
Goodbye, everybody.